Hey y'all, I'm Hope at Crafty Hope and welcome. It is time for my week 18 mixed media prompt project for hashtag Crafty Hope prompts. That is a mouthful, I am telling you. But we are 18 weeks into this and we're gonna keep going. So if you are new here, let me explain real quick. Hashtag Crafty Hope prompts is a project I came up with to create a prompt deck using regular old playing cards. Each week I'm drawing 3 prompts, altering that card, and then later in the week creating another project using those same 3 prompts. I have more information about this in my video from Monday. I will try to link it up here, but things have been a little wonky lately. And it's not working quite right for everybody. So I will try to remember to link that below. In addition, below you'll find my list of 156 prompts from which I am pulling. So if you want to use and pull your own prompts, you can do that instead of using the ones I have. Just make sure if you play along, whether you use my prompts or your own, or create a card or an art journal page or a tag or however you want to interpret these prompts, that you use hashtag Crafty Hope prompts and possibly tag me if you can. I am at Crafty Hope pretty much all over the place. So, all right, we're gonna get to this. My camera is acting so crazy, so I'm hoping it's recording now, right? So my prompts for this week, first let me tell you, if you have any questions about any of that, if that is unclear, if the links aren't working, at the end of this video there is a link to the full playlist of my Crafty Hope prompts. I've included a couple other artists who have also made YouTube videos for this Crafty Hope prompts. So there's that. The prompts I'm using this week are alcohol spray, hand carved stamp, and pattern. And in my video on Monday, again, I'm going to try to link to that, I explain what these prompts mean to me, how you might interpret them if you don't have those, and I encourage you to use the words as they are. Like if you hear the word alcohol spray and that inspires something in you that, because you don't have an alcohol spray like I do, go with that. Okay, I'm not going to go much more into that because I said a bunch of stuff on Monday. It's time to get to a project. I'm going to tell you what I've pulled out. For alcohol spray, I have my 10 here of the homemade alcohol sprays that I have. Again, I have a link, hopefully, in Monday's video to how I made these. Also, my second prompt here is hand-carved stamp. So I have my 2 boxes of hand-carved stamps that are mostly carved from erasers. And then my third prompt here is pattern. And you can see here I pulled out a couple of things with patterns on them. So this is just a napkin that's got this neat like fan pattern on it, as well as this is a piece of tissue paper with a polka dot pattern on it. So I'm just, those are patterns. I have them. I'm also toying with the idea of creating my own pattern using some acrylic ink. So what are we making today? Hopefully bookmarks. That is my idea. I wanted to do something really simple. I decided that these 3 things worked really well for just creating collage papers. So we're going to kind of start with that and evolve into making bookmarks. I realized I had this set of like DIY bookmarks here. I'm not going to use them. When I pulled them out, I realized that the paper is much thinner than I would like. And so instead, I'm just kind of using them as a size reference. They are 6 inches by 2 inches. So that I'm just keeping in mind. I'll pull out my paper cutter later. And then y'all, I have a bunch of book papers here. These are just, I went through different books I've got on hand and pulled these out. I'm going to lay them out in a second and spray some alcohol inks and stuff on them. And then I've got some cardstock. This is just 8.5 by 11 cardstock that I'm going to use as a base for those bookmarks. Now, I know bookmarks doesn't sound super exciting. My idea for this is a pay it forward kind of thing. I love my local library. I love books, and I thought it might be fun to create some artist bookmarks, and when I get books from the library, slip in one of these bookmarks with a little note on the back that says that this is for you to keep or something along those lines. So we're going to make those. I thought I might add holes at the top as well with a ribbon or something, but I think that's going to make it too chunky to to hide in the book, that the librarians might remove that. So I think we're going to go without the little tassels or whatever for this time. All right. So basically we're going to make a master board. I'm going to start by altering my papers. Oh, also, like I said, I have these inks out. I also have some Stays-On inks out for my hand-carved stamps because they are permanent. I don't want to use like my Distress Oxides or anything that is non-permanent because I do not want to damage library books in any way. So, and I don't really want to go to the trouble of sealing a bunch of stuff. So I'm going to try to make this as non-sticky as possible and just get to it. So with that said, let me get started. The first thing I did was pull out those book pages and lay them around on my desk really randomly, y'all. I was just putting them down. Some of the things I was trying to keep some blank, and some I'm going to pull out my alcohol sprays. You can see I've got a blue there, or is that green? I don't even know. I was trying to keep with a general color palette of the cool colors that I like, the blues, greens, and purples. So that's where I was going. That was what I'm using. See, there's a green. I guess I did blue and indigo and green, and then I'll do a purple one. Like I said, this is spray bottles of alcohol, which I have put the felt tubes from the inside of markers in, and that's how I created these alcohol sprays. I love the really kind of cloudy, misty, I don't know, they're permanent because they're like alcohol. And if you don't have this, think about like you could put down some Sharpie or something because that is an alcohol ink, and then spray alcohol on that to make an alcohol spray. But anyway, I'm just trying to alter some papers for right now. Yeah, so I dried those off, and then I'm coming in with my acrylic inks. I will try to list the colors below. I don't remember what they are. And this is some tissue paper, and I've got a fairly thin brush, and I'm making a pattern with it. So again, you can see this is in that same color palette I'm going with in a blue here. So I'm starting with that, making some X's. I'm going to go to another pattern here and another little brush. And this is, I don't even know what color, maybe a magenta, but to me it's purple. And making circles here. And this worked out better than I expected, really, y'all. I'm really happy with how this came together in the end. During this whole process, I was a little muddled headed. I was like, oh, this may be awful, but it really works out. So now I'm moving over to some deli paper, and this is some copper ink, and y'all, this is old, and the whatchamacallit, the applicator wouldn't work. So, yep. And I'm doing another pattern, which is, as you can see, just a zigzag squiggly line. This is my pattern here. I'll bring a pattern in with that tissue paper and napkins in a little bit. As you can tell, I'm doing the patterns on like transparent type papers. Now, in addition, I've got a Posca pen here, which is an acrylic paint pen. So again, it is permanent, and I'm making marks with it. So you don't have to use acrylic inks. I mean, you could even use acrylic paint on these things instead of the inks. You can use acrylic paint for your stamps later, if you're trying to keep things, permanent. Now I've pulled in, I'm using a pink, a blue, and a yellow spray of those alcohol sprays just on a piece of deli paper to kind of just see what would happen. I hadn't tried this before, so I did it, and I tried it, and I love it. I'll bring it in later, and you'll see it. So now I've got my cardstock, and I am going to start laying down some of these papers and things. Y'all, I've sped this up a lot because this whole process took me over an hour. So, and I didn't think y'all needed to see me do this really slow. So I want to cover this whole sheet of 8.5 by 11 cardstock. And I'm starting with Mod Podge, but I'm trying to make sure I don't get a whole lot of it on top of the paper because it can get real sticky. And like I said, I don't want anything that's going to be sticky or damage a library book eventually. Now, those were the inks I used. I decided I didn't want to waste them, so I just stripped them straight onto that paper. They're not going to show up later, but it got past that blank page kind of thing. So I put down 2 plain papers there first, that layer of acrylic inks, and now I am putting in some of these altered alcohol spray papers. Again, using the Mod Podge. I will come in once I get my first layer to cover this whole paper down. I'll use a glue stick because it will not be sticky on top. Now there are a lot of things about this I wish I don't know, I wish I had that I could do differently. Like for one, when it comes to the end of this, y'all, I'm really wanting a laminator. So my husband's been talking about getting one, so I think I might pressure him to go ahead and make that purchase, because now I want one, because I want to laminate these bookmarks that I ended up with, because I was thinking so hard about not letting things get sticky, and it wouldn't matter if I had a laminator. But for now, this is how I'm working with it. I'm just going to put down, like I said, the Mod Podge as much as I can underneath these things. And I spent some time when I laid my next layer of stuff to make sure that I covered up as much as that sticky Mod Podge as I could. So here's, yeah, I'm using the Uhu glue stick now and bringing in just little bits of things, more of regular undyed papers as along with some of the dyed papers. And I'm just sticking them around. This is going to be a multi-layer process. So I'm getting there. I'm covering up the last, not the last, but most of that, whatchamacallit, the acrylic inks I'd put down. That may be, yeah, there's that one little portion there that's kind of poking through that you can see. So I'm getting all of that down, like I said, and this was a really long process. So that is pretty much all of that. I'm going to go ahead and bring in one of my hand carved stamps and some of that stays on ink. This is in Ganache. And like I said, if you don't have stays on ink and want to do something similar, think about maybe using a acrylic paint. That would work beautifully. Here's another hand carved stamp in a different color. Oh, I can't remember the name of this one. It's Twilight something, maybe. Violet. I don't know. I'll put it below. And now I've got my tissue paper. So I'm going to start with, yeah, this blue polka dotted tissue paper. And I could use some matte gel or fluid matte medium, but I decided to use my glue stick. What I like about tissue paper with these little dots on it are those dots become transparent and you can see all of the text and everything that is behind it. So that's pretty awesome. So I've decided now to come in with my napkin, and I've got to pull that back layer off. I did use 2 pieces of washi tape that I put on either side of that to separate it because it did not want to come apart. And just like the tissue paper, some of the dots on this go transparent when it is laid down. It is super awesome. So, and I'm just trying to get these scattered. All of this stuff I'm just trying to get scattered on here. I just want a what do I want? I want a lot of texture. I want this to be different. I like when you make a masterboard like this, when you cut things down or punch holes out of them, that having that big variety of things across it is super neat. So this is that tissue paper that I altered with the acrylic inks, and I'm doing this in sections. You can see I did the blue X's, now I'm doing those purple circles and getting them spread out all over this card. Those purple circles came out even better than I anticipated. It's like one of my favorite things when I look at this card, in addition to the deli paper that I sprayed. So that's this here. Look how pretty that turned out. I'm super happy with it. So I'm just putting it down in a couple spots. Again, it is transparent. So some of the text and things from the book papers show through, but it adds another layer of color on top of this. It's super awesome. Deli paper and alcohol spray worked out beautifully. Now here's that last one that I did with the metallic inks and then the Posca pen. So I'm just laying these around, having a good time. I will bring what do we call it, my hand carved stamps back in just a second for more of a contrast. And I was saving this one with the Posca pen for last because it's not a color, it's black. So I knew it would just be, I don't know, it needed to be a top layer for some reason in my mind. I don't know why, but because it was black, and it would help like push back some of the other things and fill in some of the spaces and that kind of thing. So, and yeah, you can see all those different layers in here, and I'm so smitten with all of it. And the the Ooh glue stick worked great with this, better than I expected. I think even better a little bit than the Mod Podge did, really. Now, I do regret that this cardstock isn't as heavy as I would like it to be, and I started to add another layer of like cardboard to the back of it. But, these are probably going to be something somebody throws away or leaves in the book when they find it. It's not precious, it doesn't have to be perfect. This is just something a little happy. That's all it's got to be. So here's just black, stays on with a stamp that I carved. That's an X. Super simple, y'all. And for a final touch, I'm going to take some green acrylic ink that I had not used and splatter it. Just one last unifying thing. Now I could add other things, maybe some white paint or whatever, you could doodle, you could do all kinds of stuff, but I wanted to kind of stick to my prompts for this. So now I've got my trim board here. What do you call that? Cutting board. And I am trimming off each of the sides that are the 8.5. Is it the 8.5 ones? No. The long edges I'm trimming off half an inch to make this 10 inches, because I told you those were going to be 2 inches wide. So instead of it being 11 inches long, it is 10 inches long. So I'm cutting off a half an inch on either side. On those long sides. Well, they're actually the short sides, but the long edge, you know what I mean. So, but then when I turn it the other way, this way, I'm going to cut off 1/4 of an inch to make this, instead of 8.5 inches long, 8 inches. So I'll end up with an 8x10 piece of paper. That's all I'm doing. But I just wanted to get the edges off, because in a lot of cases, those aren't stuck down great. That, it's a spot that gets kind of missed in some of the stamping and all of that. So it just kind of helps it. So from there, I'm going to the side that is the 10 inches long there, I'm going to cut it into 2-inch sections. So I basically moved that down to the 8-inch mark on the right side. So I knew that the other side was 2 inches. And I'm going to go all the way down until I have 5 strips that are 2 inches by 8 inches long. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. If you need to, just create a template that is 6 inches by 2 inches, 6 inches by 2 inches, and cut it down however you want. Move that around on your page. So I have these 8-inch by 2-inch pieces, and I need to cut off 2 inches. Now I could cut an inch off at each end, but what I'm going to do is just cut 2 inches off one end. I'm picking which end I don't like, or in this case, the end was curving a little bit. So I'm going to cut those 2 inches off just right there. And I'm going to keep doing that. So I'm starting, and y'all, I'm ending up with these 2-inch by 2-inch squares that I can turn into twinchies later. So bonus. Bonus. But I'm going through all of these, like I said, and deciding which side I think would, or, where I could lose those 2 inches. So I'm gonna, this is just a whole process. I'm putting that down so that my piece of paper is on the 6-inch mark. And use it again. If you need to make a template and just trace it and cut it, do that. Or cut these how, I could keep them at 8 inches if I wanted, but I decided to go ahead and use that idea of the 6 inches by 2 inches. Okay, those are cut. And, I could leave it like that. That is all I really need to make a bookmark. But I'm going to go that little extra step, and I'm inking up the edges with more of that Stays On in ganache. I could have used a blending tool to do this, but I really just wanted to frame these up a little bit. And then what I have done is I've gone online and found a collection of quotes that had to do with books. And yeah, so I printed those out. I put them into just shy of 2 inches wide format and cut them down into these strips. And I am going to cut the lines out individually and glue them down with my Ooh glue stick. Now, I have made this format available for you in a PDF. I will have the link below if you are interested in it. But I did find all of these quotes on one website, and that is also included at the bottom of the PDF if you want to see the full list of quotes. I just kind of picked and chose some that I liked. I have more than 5 on there. I have like 8 or something. I don't remember how many I picked out. But I went ahead and just put them all on there. And if you want to make a bookmark and print those out, yeah, I've got the link to the PDF below. It's in my Google Drive. So, as you can see, I cut these down a little bit so that they lay out just the way I want. And I'll use my Uhu glue stick to glue them down. I'm just going to show y'all me gluing it down this first one. And then I'm going to do the other 4 off camera and show you the finished 5 at the end. Alright guys, that is my entire project for week 18 using alcohol spray, hand carved stamps, and pattern. I hope you like this. I hope this inspired you to maybe pay it forward in some way. And let me know, do you have a favorite book quote? Would you have done this differently? Is there, what about this did you not like or not like? I would love to know. If you did enjoy this, make sure you give me a thumbs up and subscribe. And if you are participating in this using these prompts, make sure you use that hashtag #CraftyHopePrompts. I can't wait to see what you have created. Thanks for watching, y'all. I'll see you later. Bye.